What's up, everybody? Coach David here with Metro Jiu-Jitsu. Here we've got
Coach Mohammad. Good morning.
Good to see you. So is that one going live?
No.
All right. So,
Just checking
Coach, you had a good question for everybody to lead off with.
How many hours of sleep did you get last night? First question of the day. Go ahead and post them.
So I got 7. Well, I was in bed for 7 hours.
Okay.
But you know what I've been seeing people post, and they've got like little watches, and they'll say, "Hey, you actually got this much sleep."
Yeah.
I guarantee I got less than 4.5 hours of like good sleep.
Yeah. You know that Jabril is talking about one of those things that.
I don't need it. I don't need it, but like I didn't sleep well last night.
There's a difference between sleep and it's called REM sleep.
REM sleep.
Yeah.
Rapid eye movement.
Yeah.
Thank you, 6th grade science. Came in handy. But so how many did you get?
I got 3.5
Total.
And I would.
What do you? How on a scale of 1 to 10, what level would you place priority of sleep to your physical health?
Probably 8.
So an 8. So how come you never get any?
That's a whole separate podcast.
I'm gonna come over to your house one day. Do I need to install like a lock on your bedroom door? Like just go to bed. Like when we had early mornings, it was not uncommon for me to like my family would be over, we'd be hanging out, and 9 o'clock would hit, be like, all right guys, peace. I got early morning, and it'd be like I knew I'd have to get up at 4:30 because I'm not one of those people. You function really well with low sleep. If I get less than 6 or 5.5 hours of sleep, I might as well just trash the day. I might as well throw it away because I'm not going to be productive. I'm definitely not going to be happy. I'm definitely and I can't really remember the last time this happened, but like it's all of it like it just trashes the whole day. So it's not worth it for the extra couple hours that you're not saving it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, picture this. Who stays in your house?
So I got
how many people?
My family. So we got 5.
You got 5 human beings, including you?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I have 8 people, and every single human being in my house wears my socks.
Yeah, like physically.
They physically steal my socks.
I don't know if that's a metaphor or not. Okay,
yeah,
so they steal. Okay, they steal your socks.
So imagine going to sleep knowing you're not going to have socks the next day.
Wouldn't you have a secret stash underneath your bed?
They're onto me. They're onto me. My wife, my Isa, Jabril, my 4 girls, they all steal my socks.
So that's why you're not. That's why you're not getting.
No, but it is stressing me out.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
If this is going to turn into a therapy session, it is stressing
me
out.
Well, we got a lot of questions. I'm going to lay these out. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to all of them.
Okay.
To be honest with you, there's a lot of them. I want to talk about this one first. So we've got. Wow. Okay. The first one is, what are your thoughts? And I actually got this from. I watched a podcast from Varaza Hobby.
Stacy got 5 hours sleep.
5 hours? No, man. No.
I feel you, Stacy.
No. Like I'm not doing it.
She also has about 5 human beings or 6 human beings.
I'm just, I'm not sure what would have to happen for me to consistently get 5 hours sleep. Occasionally, sure, but like I wouldn't do it. What are your thoughts on men refusing to roll with women or vice versa?
You can take that one first.
Let me start by saying this. When I first started training jiu-jitsu, Amanda, she felt kind of weird about me rolling with other women. She was like, because like you're talking about mount, close guard, like a lot of these positions look sexual. Like we get like people walking by and they're like these teenagers and they're sort of snickering looking at top mount, and it looks really weird. To say the least. Meanwhile, you're strangling this human unconscious.
So it's been almost 15 years that I started training jiu-jitsu, right? 2 years before I started, I
Mhm.
actually walked into a school because I was researching
Jiu-Jitsu Academy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? And I asked the owner of the academy, I'm like, hey, I'm interested in training. I've been doing martial arts for a long time. I'm thinking about doing jiu-jitsu, and I just have a couple questions. And one of them was like, do you allow gay people in here? And and I wasn't being homophobic. I was like, what if a guy comes in and his only intention is to be rolling around with other guys? So I get that these positions
it's never crossed my mind. Like I've never once that was your one of your first thoughts.
Yeah, I mean,
that's crazy
because a guy rolling with a girl, or two people of the same sex, if they have different intentions other than to get in shape and exercise, it's like I don't want to be around that kind of person.
I get it. Whether it's heterosexual or homosexual, but man, there's something about like the John Wallace, our old coach, he's like, yeah, your homophobia goes away real quick when someone's trying to strangle you. Whatever intentions you had, whatever you thought, like, let's say hypothetically I do, and I was like, hey, I just want to get up close to roll around. First off, there's lots of other places. There's gay bars. There's lots of other places that someone can go to like sort of fit that need.
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu is going to be like arguably the last place, because it's like, you're not going to go there. Like, that's just, it from what it looks like on the outside, it looks like they're being all intimate and it's, everyone's getting all hot and bothered.
It's not,
it's not the way at all.
No.
It's not that way at all. Like they're going to they're just not going to last.
Yeah.
I've never considered that though in my life.
And, I don't know if you remember, but we've had, at least one or two guys have come in here that, if I had to guess, I'd probably say we're not heterosexual. They were probably gay.
Maybe.
Yeah, but they didn't last more than a day. So I'm not saying it was, but if that was their intention, they realized immediately it doesn't matter what your preference is. When you're doing jiu-jitsu, there's no time or space for anything else.
Yeah, you're not thinking about how attracted you are to somebody.
No.
Well, and so which leads to going back to this, because what brought this up was Varaza Hobby, right? Yeah. And so
he brought that up.
Yeah, it was on his. It got asked to him. I really like Varaza Hobby. He's George St. Pierre's trainer, owns TriStar Gym in Canada. Like he's got a good head on his shoulders, man. And the way he speaks is like very. I like the way he speaks, the way he presents things. You can tell he's got a deep knowledge on whatever he talks about.
Yeah.
And so he was saying like so I used to not roll with women because it made my wife uncomfortable. And we have guys who come in here and they're like, hey, I've got an agreement with my wife. I won't roll with women. And I was like, cool, I respect it, man. Like if that's your reasoning, right? But then once we open, and even before, for Metro, I kind of got over it. I was like, I'm not, for the same reason, right? I'm not a pervert. So I'm not going to intentionally put myself in clothes. Like for instance, you'll never see me get in a triangle with a woman. Okay. Well, to be fair, I've never trained against a black belt woman, so maybe she might train me. I don't know. But like with all the women that we train with, and if you guys noticed, if anyone ever sees this, I'm real careful about how I modify my technique. So for instance, with Coach Mohammad, I might be using like my head in his chest to hold him down, or any variation thereof, and those things just don't exist. And I'm more so hypersensitive to what my role looks like with women as the coach. Because the last thing I need is any type of allegation that, oh, coach made a move coming on to me, coach did this, coach did that. But I do need to feel how their jiu-jitsu is.
Yeah.
So I like to feel how their jiu-jitsu is and feel that. So I do a lot of sort of knee on belly. I do a lot of kind of bull passing, Toriano passing, things like that. No double unders, no double. So those are kind of like, but Varaza Hobby had an excellent, and I I credit the man. He's like, I don't roll with women. And with the woman, because a girl asked him, a woman asked him if he wanted to roll, and he's like, no, I don't roll with women. She's like, you're kidding, right? He's like, no, I'm serious. I don't. That's my prerogative. I don't roll with women. And she was like, why don't you roll? And he's like, listen. He said, because he went on to say that he doesn't, he's like, if you are a man who can tell me that you can roll within a very attractive woman and not have any impure thoughts, you're angelic. Like, that's what he referred to them as. He's like, that's angelic. He's like, now if you're rolling with an ugly woman, like, you know, it's pretty easier to have impure thoughts, but you can't judge each woman and say, you're ugly enough to roll with, I'll roll with you, because there's no way I'm going to have impure thoughts, and you're extra pretty, so there's no way I can roll with you because I will have impure thoughts. And so he's like, I just unilaterally, I don't discriminate, I just don't roll with women, because he knows. And I love that answer so much, because that kind of gets into like what I believe is like a natural sort of inclination. Man is designed to be attracted to beautiful women. And so, like, he's speaking very frankly and humanizing with that. Like, his motive wasn't like, oh, I don't want to crush somebody. He's like, I just don't trust myself. And they went on in the comments to like slaughter him. He's like, oh, Faraz is a pervert. Faraz is this. Faraz is that. And I was like, any guy who's not, going to say that temptation isn't there. Mm-hmm. But that temptation, my counter to this, that temptation is there regardless. You just have, if you're in a room and a girl's wearing tight clothes, it's like anywhere else you go. You control those thoughts, or you let those thoughts control you.
Yeah, I get that, because over the last 20 years, I've had many females work for me. And like, one rule I had myself is I would never hire somebody that I was like, wow, I'm attracted to her.
Yeah, that's a good rule.
Yeah, that was my rule. And I've had some like fitness competitors, bikini competitors. I've had a bunch of them, and for me, I had my own internal rule. I've never said this before. I can't hire somebody who I'm
so if you've ever worked for Coach Mohammad, you know he's not attracted to you.
So the attraction comes in how good you could do your job. That's very attractive to me. If you could sell supplements or sell the product, then that's very attractive. That's where my beauty lies in my staff.
That's funny. They so what's really
not that they were
I'm
ugly,
I'm playing
because I've gotten compliments on the people that we have worked for me, and we have some good looking well put together females work here, but sure, that's just my rule.
They so, and then the vice versa, women rolling with men. Yeah, I think that's more understandable. And that's what I'm really proud of what we've done here at Metro. Like, we screen our members pretty well to where if women feel comfortable doing it, because they are put in like what appears to be compromising positions. We have a lot of women who are come from with sexual assault backgrounds, things like that, and certain moves can be triggering to them, and so they have to feel extra comfortable with the team and know that they're safe and know that the guy that they're rolling with doesn't have any ulterior motives. And so if they come up to me and say, hey, either I can't roll with someone either for religious purposes or I just don't feel comfortable rolling with them, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean,
I forgot that woman who asked Faraz if he rolled with men cheated on her husband with her old jiu-jitsu instructor.
Oh, interesting.
He's like, so fast forward. He's like, I thought it was really interesting that she was so surprised that I wouldn't do that when she was like an adulteress.
Yeah.
Like, it was really fun. Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that topic?
No. I mean, just on that topic, like, I get asked all the time by females that I meet, do you do private lessons?
Oh.
And for me, that's another one. I don't do private lessons with I don't roll with females, and I don't do private lessons with females either.
Yeah.
But no, that's good. That's a good way to kick off this podcast.
So, all right. What's I didn't print off his response. I'm going to get to that one in a second. Let's do it. So what's expected of a white belt that's been training 1 to 3 years?
Yep.
3 years.
Yes, 1 to 3 years.
If you're a white belt, you've been training 3 years, I'm expecting you to be a blue belt.
Well,
Like, unless you're
without stripes.
really bad.
Well, some schools don't do any stripes. They go from belt to belt, and they just, there's no stripes involved. So I'm expecting that you probably took some time
1 to
off.
3 years.
What's expected?
So as what's expected for someone who leaves the gym? Listen, man. So if you have to, like, as with anything else, if you have to take time off, fine. Like, they're like, hey, I got to take time off medically, whatever. Either A, just like Big Chad does here, stay in the gym so that you stay connected to the community, or B, at least make it 1 day a week, because it's a lot easier as you take time off and don't go to the Jiu-Jitsu Academy at all. It's a lot easier to come up with excuses to say, hey, you know what? The longer you're off, the easier it is to stay off. And that's with working out. That's with jiu-jitsu. That's with fill in the blank. So what's expected of a white belt? 1 to 3 years. I mean, like we just kind of went over our blue belt curriculum. For me, the assigning expected techniques at stripes, I mean, it's going to be so arbitrary. Like, to me, it's like the end goal should just be the end goal should be to get better. Like, my mindset is this is just the way I think. I will never understand someone who comes in and trains jiu-jitsu. Like, this is just I don't mean this in a bad way. I literally, when I started jiu-jitsu, I was like, all right, I'm going to get my black belt in jiu-jitsu, and then I want to become a master in Muay Thai. Like, that was my thought process. And at the time, I was like, I want to get my black belt in Muay Thai. They didn't have black belts there, but like that was just the natural progression.
Kick a tree down.
Yeah, whatever. Like, I just want to do it to the fullest and then move on. I don't understand the mindset where it's like, I want to get my blue belt and then quit, or I want to train jiu-jitsu for a year and then quit. Because jiu-jitsu, as good as it is for self-defense and all the other benefits, it's like diet or supplements. It's only good if you continue doing it.
Right.
Like, if I took 2 years off of jiu-jitsu, I would not be very good at jiu-jitsu. I'd be even less good than I am now. But so I would not be very good at jiu-jitsu. So I don't really look at the stripes, what's required at each stripe. I look at it as just kind of what's required for blue belt. But then, like, the goal, and this opens up a whole conversation. I'm gonna add this here. I'm gonna add our own question. Or actually, I'm going to get to this. I'm going to inject another one because it's appropriate. Does the belt system help or hurt grapplers? So I don't know if that answers your question. Stripes, I mean, like, I'm looking for, how to do basic movements. I'm looking for some techniques, definitely escapes. White belt is learning how to survive. You learn some escapes in there. But the belt system in general, does it help or hurt grapplers? And should we eliminate it? Why or why not?
You definitely cannot remove the belt system from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because
I mean, we're talking like we have the authority to do so. I'm just saying in general, like, should whoever's in charge of that eliminate the belt system?
No, because the art of putting in your time and training really hard and going through years of adversity will be you'll take that away from the art itself. So some other arts, you can get a black belt in 2 years. If you train, say, 4 days a week, you can get a black belt in 2 years, 3 years, in another art. And some people have prostituted the martial art, doesn't matter which one it is. So if you take it away, then taking it away, in my opinion, is just like diluting it. But you have to.
Diluting? You think it would dilute it? If you just, I'm talking, we eliminate it. We turn it into wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, you've been training 25 years. I've been training 25 minutes. Exact same rank.
Well, there's
we're in the leotards. We're in the same leotards or uniforms, whatever.
So when you meet somebody on the street and they train jiu-jitsu, and you ask them, hey, what belt are you? And they say, well, I'm blue belt. I say, oh, cool. I'm purple. I'm brown. With every color, it's like, oh, ooh.
Yeah.
And if you meet somebody who's a black belt, you're like, whoa. But if you meet somebody on the street in a different art, they say, yeah, I'm a 3rd degree black belt in whatever art. It's like, oh, You know, it's
I honestly don't even. I don't even
that's not
ask.
a big deal.
I don't even ask. Like respectfully, if someone's like, oh yeah, I train karate or taekwondo, I was like, that's cool. Frankly, it doesn't matter what rank you are. Like respectfully, it doesn't matter what rank you are. And I'm gonna get a lot of school owners on here because I'm in a lot of other groups with like taekwondo school owners, karate school owners. They're gonna get pissed at me, but like, it doesn't matter. Like we've got a guy. God just enrolled. He's like a karate or something. He's in my guard, and he tried to like just chopped the inside of my thighs as if to break my guard, and I was like, and now you get to die. So he didn't break my guard, but I was like, that's just not how this is gonna work. So it doesn't matter. But like, here's what I'm bringing this up. The absolute last thing you should be concerned about in your jiu-jitsu, write this down, get it tattooed, I don't care, is your belt rank. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's hard.
Period.
That's hard.
It doesn't matter.
It's hard for newer people to really get that until you get to until you go to one level to another level. As you start moving up with every belt level, it's like, I want to stay here a little bit more. I just want to grow a little bit more. I want to get a little bit better. I want to incorporate this part of my game. I need to build a little bit more technique here. If you go through the entire journey, even if your goal is, I want to be a black belt, there are some points where like, I hope he doesn't promote me this year or in the next 2 months or 3 months. So, I mean,
you're talking, yeah. Well, and I'm gonna do this.
So that's hard.
I'm not saying it, because here's the thing.
Students want to know that they need to know that they're doing well. Sometimes
that should be the goal.
Yeah.
Getting better should be the goal. But
sometimes they don't get that positive reinforcement from the instructor how they need it. I'm sure we do it ourselves. Sometimes we don't, let them know they're doing good, they're on track, and this part of their jiu-jitsu, this part of their game is evolving, and things like that. But I think people, they need that positive reinforcement.
If you just need the positive, here's the problem, right? Here's my problem with this. And anyone who knows me knows how I feel about 90% of college degrees. You get a college degree, a bachelor's degree, it's a 4-year degree? Is that what it is now? $100,000, whatever it is, 60.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. Would we agree? In terms of college?
Yeah.
4 years in jiu-jitsu, you're just getting started.
True.
So everywhere else, you're like, 4 years, woohoo, I graduated, I'm gonna get a job, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I know what I'm talking about because I've been doing it for 4 years in jiu-jitsu. It's like, sweet, you're a blue belt. That's a beginner belt. Yeah, you're a blue belt. And that's a hard pill to sell to people. And so when I tell, that's why, if you're coming into jiu-jitsu, I sent a message out to our members. I was like, who's legitimately can see themselves training more than 3 years from now? I had 4 people respond out of a lot. And so what that tells me is they're like, forget, not. To be fair, I think I only sent to 40 people. So 10% can see themselves training more than 3 years, which is probably larger than I expected. But that should be the end goal. And so I honestly don't know what you're expecting to get out of jiu-jitsu in a year. You'll lose weight, you'll learn some moves, but the second you stop, it's like, man, remember that year I had a good diet? That was a good year. Awesome. Your diet sucks now though. Why would you stop that? That's why the belts, I don't care, because so long as you're until I die.
So we know who the tough coach is here and who the not so tough coaches.
I'm just because that's the mindset, right? Because here, and we've talked about this. It can take ballpark average, whatever, 10 years to get a black belt, more or less, whatever. Okay. A lot happens. Almost every life change you can imagine happens in 10 years. People get married, people buy homes, people change careers, people move, people get sick, people have kids, people every major life change. And unless if you're taking it year by year, when any of these major life changes happens, it's understandable to be like, hey, I had a kid. I need to stop training jiu-jitsu. hey, I got a job, I got a little bit more workload, I need to stop training jiu-jitsu. The foresight to look forward in your life 10 years and say, I can't think of it, and this is my answer. I can't think of a situation in which I would stop training jiu-jitsu. God forbid I get in a car accident right after this and I lose my legs. I'm gonna start a freaking Instagram called the Legless Grappler. Like I'm gonna find a way to do jiu-jitsu with that. You know, if I lose, like I have sold my house, sold my cars, and done all these other things to keep training jiu-jitsu. To me, it's a lifestyle. It's a fitness. It's like a diet. It's like supplements. They're only good. They only keep giving so long as you keep doing it. The second you stop, the benefits stop. So the belts. And by the way, that's like a full 180 of how I used to think about the belts. I used to think they were a big deal. And then they're a big deal. I'm not saying they're not important, but that shouldn't be like, if you're training jiu-jitsu just for the belt, go to Amazon and buy one. And then now you can quit. You can expedite the process. Save your tuition fees. Go buy a black belt and you'll be good. Things like $20. The link will be in the bio. So Alan's got, what are some different ways to stretch out the knees? I stretch before class and still sore the next couple of days. You'd probably, you're the authority on this one.
Yeah, so
at this table.
Stretching, the absolute best way to stretch. It's so critical to stretch after jiu-jitsu. I would say more than before jiu-jitsu. Before jiu-jitsu, you definitely want to like kind of get your body warm, move around a little bit, and just get your heart rate up a little bit. You want to almost start to break a little sweat. So like a brisk walk for about 5 minutes. All right, you want to get your body warm, but stretching your body after, everything is really loose. You got that fluid going. I think it's called synovial fluid. Your limbs and your ligaments and tendons are warm. I know that's some females. I know that.
I have no, like I just, when it comes to med term, I just smile and nod because I have no idea. Like so, you could make it up. You could call it Vesuvius fluid, and I'd be like, "Yep, sounds
okay.
right."
Well, I know it's in females, but I think it's in men's bodies
okay.
also.
All right.
But yeah, I would say stretch afterwards. If you can get in a habit, like you did your own form of like bringing your body down. You're doing those breathing exercises yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you could do that before, and it would definitely put you in a good state before you start jiu-jitsu. But doing that afterwards really, really helps your body recover and repair. So I would say post exercise stretching is way, way more important. So yeah. I personally like to tone down my like lifting, for example. I tone down my I start, I peak, and the last few sets, it's more like longer range of motion, lighter reps. That's kind of my stretching and cool down. So I would say afterwards is always the best idea.
On the topic, Facebook user, I don't know who this is. My goal is to be the hardest worker in the room. That's an excellent mindset. Excellent mind in terms of jiu-jitsu and the belts and things. Yeah. So, David Bergam, what would you say the time frame is for a black belt or red stripe? I don't think I know what that is. What's a black belt red stripe?
A black belt.
Are you talking like the one that we've got? Like the one that we've got? Like, because there's like black belts with like the white.
Nick, what's up, brother?
I don't have my black belt. There's like the black belts with the red stripe.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, that means that's the instructor stripe. That means which to me, it never made sense.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna tell me you're a black belt, but you're not good enough to teach. Like, so but then you'll see black belts with a white stripe, and that just means you're a black belt. Like, to be honest, I don't know. But if you're referring to a coral belt, which is a red belt, that's like a 7th degree, and it's like 40 years of being a black belt to get that coral belt or something, right?
Is it that long?
It's long, bro. It starts with like 3, 3, 5, 5, 10, 10.
Wow.
10 or something. Like, you're like, at that point, they just give you a coral belt for surviving that long because it's like 40 or 50 years of being a black belt.
Yeah.
So I don't know is that what you're referring to, David? Like the one with like the black, like that's just one Professor Alvarez, like promoted us both with because we were teaching. But then like that black belt I fought at whatever tournament, like he had a white stripe. I don't know the difference. To me, it doesn't. I don't know how someone can like when you're going to award someone a black belt and you're going to say, "Hey, congrats, you're a black belt. You earned it," but you can't teach. It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. So I don't really know. To be honest, I don't really know like probably should, but I don't really know the difference between the two. Do you?
My kids did the math, and before I got my red and black belt or something like that, it was another like 30 years or something.
Between black belt and white stripe BJJ. Let's find out. While you're doing this, let's go to the next question. I think we're still going on here. Yep.
Okay, next question. So advice for somebody interested in opening up their own gym one day in the future. I think we talked about this a couple last week or the week before. Actually, it was 2 weeks ago. Last week was Professor Alvarez. Was he on last week?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. So yeah, we talked about this. Yeah, opening up. So the more jiu-jitsu that's spread, I think the better for everybody. And advice would be, it's moving up in the ranks in jiu-jitsu. You obviously have to have a certain type of knowledge in jiu-jitsu, and treat it like college. And during that college period, you're gonna have to be home late. You're gonna have to miss time with your friends. So the more you put into that, the first 5 years or so of your jiu-jitsu, the more you're going to be rewarded on the back end.
Which question?
This is advice for someone opening up their own gym in the future. So I think that being good and teaching jiu-jitsu are two separate things, but opening up a gym where you could help other people it's a great job. Don't do it for the money.
Yeah.
But if you do it because you have a passion for teaching other people, helping other people, giving other people, if that's what you like, it's very rewarding.
I would also say to this, let your instructor know your intentions, because like we are expecting. I was talking to somebody. I should really remember who I'm talking to, but I was like, I don't know. I can't imagine like a purple belt who doesn't want to give back some of what they've learned.
Yeah.
So let your instructor know their intentions. We're expecting, because at purple belt, you had the desire expressed it to Danny. Same thing I did. He hooked us up. But you let that be known, because if your instructor, if they're smart, they're going to want to help you. They're not going to be threatened by you.
Yeah.
And so the last thing you want to do is try to go off on your own and like do it. It's cliche in the jiu-jitsu industry. Someone ranks up, they get purple, brown, black belt, whatever, open a new school. I'm going to take 30%. And this normally happens when they're coaching already. I'm going to take these 40 students because they're ride or die with me. And they took them. And then because they only know how to train jiu-jitsu, they have no idea how to run a business. It flops. So those 40 students they stole can't go back to the original school because they just proved that they're a bunch of like, what's the term? Mutinous, sort of disloyal people. So they can't go back there. So now they got to find a new academy because the old one flopped because they can't run a business. And so I would say, let your instructor know and early, like let them know early. If you're like, hey, like, even if you're a white belt, I've told the story so many times. I called, I was like, hey, how much is your jiu-jitsu? I'd like to teach one day. Like that was the conversation. And I'm all about transparency. Like you're going to know what my intentions are. You don't have to think about what my intentions are. You may not like them, but you're going to know what my intentions are. So I would let them know too.
Yeah, and you know what? That should be used against you because, one out of 200 people make it to like blue or purple.
Definitely 1 out of 200 make it. That 1 out of 200 making it to purple sounds high. I'd say per blue. We have these stats. We should check it out. People who have been who have been.
We should post them next week. But
we should check them out.
Let's say for every one person that signs up, 100 people that start jiu-jitsu, one of them will make it to blue belt. So if you look at that number, there's a lot of turnover.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot for the reasons we mentioned, right? Jeremy's got a question in your head. So while David, I learned something today. I just want to post. So he says, what time frame would you say for a black belt red stripe? The red bar normally seen on black belts signifies the wearer is an instructor. And this is off of Reddit, so take it with a grain of salt. The white stripes on the outside of the red bar, so like on the outer borders, means that they have an academy. So apparently we don't have an academy. White stripes within the red bar.
We have red bars on ours.
I don't.
I do. That's the one you bought me for my.
Well, there you go. You have an academy now. Congratulations. Cool. They but then this one says a white. Yeah, white with a black belt is like the standard belt, or a black belt with a white bar generally indicates a competitor or practitioner.
I don't know. That's tricky.
Yeah, man. I mean, like that. I don't know. Like that's just a lot going on with the belts, man. Like, see, this is why it's like you're asking a black belt what different black belts mean.
So here we got another. We got another question.
You got another question.
I'll touch on this one. It's how do you choose to promote somebody? So, like I was saying,
to what belt?
Generally speaking, how do you choose to promote somebody is like what I was saying. If somebody says, you know what, they talk to their instructor, I want to open up a school one day, I want to teach one day, they can use that. A good instructor will use it against you if you quit. Because if that's your motivation, you need to be reminded of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you know, whether it be weight loss, weight gain, to defend yourself, those need to be used against you and thrown in your face. And if it's opening up a school, a good instructor will remind you, you need to get your butt back to the gym if you want to open up your own place one day, because you're going to have people just like you that don't feel like coming. That life is kind of kicking them in the butt too hard, and they want to give it a little break. But how do you choose to promote somebody? I think every instructor has something different, and I would say I would speak for most instructors. How you promote somebody is you have to grow. Your jiu-jitsu has to grow. If you compete, your competitiveness has to grow. If you were shy, you have to come out of your shell a little bit. If you lack confidence, the instructor has to see it. I mean, all around, it shouldn't just be about the belt. Like, they have to see that you're growing on so many different levels. So it's not just about the technique. It's about keeping your word, saying you're going to do something, you do it. If you just throw out there, I'll be back here tomorrow morning, I'll be back at the 6 a.m. class, and you don't show, that doesn't look good.
Do you remember? I get these reminders on my time hop, like how many times I would get, because we would have to we would have the key code to the academy, and I'd be like, who's actually gonna show? So many times I showed up to that academy alone, and I was like, flaky, and I would call them out on social media, like you 4 people, you said you were gonna be here. Now I'm here alone at 5:30 in a freezing gym.
Yeah,
like
getting up at 4 o'clock.
So angry, bro.
David, you know how many times
so angry
I was so angry getting up, training with you at 4 or 5 o'clock.
But you showed, you at least showed up.
So I was probably that angry, wondering how I would get out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning to go train jiu-jitsu.
I can't remember. I can't. You're one of the few, probably if not the only, that I remembered like wouldn't flake. Like, you would at least be like, have the courtesy to be like, you know, if you confirm the day before, by like 9 or 10 that night, you're like, hey, I no way I'll be able to make it. So you let me know at 9. You didn't let me show up at the academy at 5:30 in the morning. So I would also add, just on that note, with each belt, our standard Metro Standard, I've really heard this from Coach Carl at Palm First. You will not, if you're going to be a brown and a black belt, it's not good enough to be amazing at jiu-jitsu. It's not good enough. Because with all everything else we talk about, jiu-jitsu, ABC, like you're seeing, if you follow the jiu-jitsu industry, there's some scandals out there, crazy stories of black belts now going to prison for sexual assault on minors.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Yeah.
How does someone earn a black belt under you and they've been assaulting your minors? I'll never understand how that happens. So, and you're like, oh, well, that won't be me. Well, it won't be you if you wear a Metro black belt. Like I need to know, like, and so I don't care if you tap me every single time. Like we fast forward 10 years and every match we go, you tap me. If your character and your ethics and your morals are not where we want them to be and what we value, we're gonna let you know. Like we're gonna say, hey, you need to, like, this is a problem. But like brown and black belt's a high rank. It's not good enough to just be good at jiu-jitsu anymore, because you're going back to the martial arts, the artist, sort of the way of the samurai. It's to grow. It's personal growth. Like Professor Mohammad was saying, it's personal growth. So, so that's why I asked which belt are you referring to. I want to just touch on this. So I'm a blue belt now. What's expected of me? Coach Eric Rolston says quitting is expected of you, and that's the cliche in jiu-jitsu. This is a joke in jiu-jitsu. They get their blue belt, they get the blue belt fever. They get sick and never come back. Like they just never come out. Someone earns their blue belt, they think they've done enough because you did something for a year. This goes back to my thesis at the beginning of the podcast. Most people quit after blue belt. So blue belt, in a word, what's expected of me. Now's the time to start to give back, because you're better than the majority of people who are going to be coming in. Now's the time to start to give back.
My definition of giving back is you should be at the gym more, whatever your schedule is, you have to be there consistently.
Yeah.
Like the best way to give back is just show up, because you never know who's going to be able to get from your training. Like you have to be there, you have to give your time, you have to give your body, and you have to be training. You have to be at the gym.
Yeah.
What's the next question we have?
So we got that.
You want to go to this one? Or?
Yeah, we can do that. Let me see which one. That's good. Yours is good.
All right. So for active people or somebody new starting out, because I think jiu-jitsu is opening and spreading so much, it's becoming a separate sport. The question is, if you start jiu-jitsu or you've started, do you have to compete or should you compete? That's the question.
Yeah.
So you want to go first? You want me to answer?
Why don't you go first?
Okay. So check this out. Let's say you've never, ever played basketball in your entire life, and you're not really hip to basketball.
Okay.
And you want to do something to get more active and kind of, meet some people and, just do something to make you feel good. And you pick up the game of basketball.
Okay.
You've never played basketball. You're uncoordinated in basketball.
Okay.
So you start playing basketball, and then you kind of learn, you got to learn how to dribble the ball, learn the basics, and you start shooting from right around the basket. You're taking shots from right around here. You're dribbling. Then you learn to shoot from the perimeter. Then you go to the 3-point line and you get comfortable and you learn how to dribble in. You know how to play basketball. All right. And you get to go to practice and play basketball with your friends. At some point, wouldn't it be cool to go play against people you don't know, just to kind of see, well, I learned all this stuff. I feel like I've gone from zero to like, I know them so much better. Wouldn't it be cool to go try it against somebody else? So my answer to that question is, do you have to compete in jiu-jitsu if you train? Do you have to be a competitor if you're a hobbyist? Absolutely not. But if you look at the game of basketball and you've never played and you learn how to play, and it's like, man, I'm starting to play around my other playmates or the people around me, and I'm doing pretty good. It would be cool to play against somebody that I don't know, and just kind of I could really get to focus on what I've learned. So I say you don't have to, but it's a really fun way to take a hobby to the next level and kind of see, I'm doing good in the gym, but how well does it really work in a tournament? How well can jiu-jitsu is like a little bit more about self-defense. Let's say I don't win the game or I don't win the match. Can I intelligently defend myself?
Yeah.
Because jiu-jitsu ultimately comes down to defending yourself against submission. When you can intelligently do that, you put yourself in a position to now go, attack or submit somebody. So I would say no, but You know, we have one of our members is Mindy. She's short, petite girl. She's a mom. She's a nurse. She's a wife. They have 3 kids and they have some pets. We have another guy named Greg. I think he owns his own business and does some freelancing. He has a wife, kids. Those 2 people started out knowing zero jiu-jitsu. I mean, the zero jiu-jitsu, like as far as athleticism, I didn't see anything on the mat. But both of those people, after like 6 months or a year, they saw, including their instructors, saw that these guys are actually getting pretty good. Because when new people are coming into the gym, you see the Greg, the dad, and the Mindy, the mom, doing really good and starting to tap other girls out and tap other guys out, and even start to hang with guys and girls younger than them. So they actually both competed recently. They did very well. So I think it's a healthy thing to do, but it's not a requirement.
Yeah. Yeah. And with jiu-jitsu being a self-defense, keeping that in mind, we don't, like when we train in here, when we spar in the academy, like we don't go 100%. At least I don't. Like you can't do that sustainably. So in tournaments though, like people go like 110%. So like that's the reality. That's that intensity that's going to happen in a self-defense situation, and people are going to react weird. If you Chad says, if you play pickup basketball at LA Fitness, you will also be forced to practice jiu-jitsu. Yeah, man. Like people.
Chad, I used to hang out in the paint when I was younger, but right now I try to cross somebody over and step back and get a 15 to 25 footer.
All right. So this one says, what advice, Melinda says, what advice would you give parents when registering for competition when unsure what group to register their children and keeping them in a safe weight group? Cassidy's 8, average of 50 pounds, gray belt. Not every competitor has a group that fits perfectly for her. So you're dealing with, and you see what she's getting at is you deal with kids. Yeah. You can have and boy, the spread is huge. You can have an 8-year-old who is 50 pounds. You can have an 8-year-old who is 100 pounds.
True.
And we can get into the responsibility of the parent on how they should keep their child at a healthy weight with a good diet and exercise on another podcast. But the answer is you do the best you can. Yeah. You do the best you can, and you refuse to let them take on an unsafe match.
Yeah. I mean, in short, I would say we have take child A that's 50 pounds and child B that's 50 pounds. If child A is 50 pounds and so we're talking about registering for a tournament, if they are mentally, emotionally still a little bit fragile, and we're talking about like 5-6-year-olds, 7-year-olds or whatever, then it's probably best that you just stick to whatever is available for that age and weight. But if you have somebody who's 50 pounds that might have 3 or 4 older siblings and a bunch of cousins is always used to like jumping off garages and cliffs and falling and tumbling, and they're like, you know what, that child is, you're not trying to push them to be tough. They're already a little rebel. Yeah. It might be okay to go up a few pounds. Yeah. But I think it depends on the child.
Yeah. Scarlett's a really good example of this. She's 5. She's 50 pounds. I wouldn't call her overweight. I mean, she's thicker, she's thick. Like she's got sort of her dad's genetics a little bit. Like I was sort of a pudgy kid. I wouldn't call her obese, but she's just thicker, right? She's 5 though. She's about to be 6. And so she's extremely mild though. She's not that physical kid who's like, I mean, she's like getting better. She's getting more physical. But like if I put
definitely more confident.
Yeah, definitely more confident. But like if you put her up against like just this, if you put her up against this Bam Bam Flintstone kid because again at 6 years old, she's gonna probably go into the tournament, she's probably gonna get bumped up like to gray belt. Like to find or a little bit older to find someone her weight, because a lot of 5-year-olds don't weigh 50 pounds. Yeah. Or 6-year-olds do. But like so kind of we're facing the same thing. I was like, and then Like, I'm just mentally prepared. I have all the faith in my daughter, but I know my daughter, she I was a purple belt, like 4-stripe purple belt for Professor Mohammad. Like, at one point he just came to me. He's like, bro, you don't like, why does it take you 5 minutes to look like you're trying in tournaments? He's like, 5 minutes into a match, you look like you're not trying at all. And I had bought the lie or drank the Kool-Aid or bought the misconception. I was like, well, it's just technique, just technique. If I calmly use it. No, man, like tournaments, you got to be aggressive. Like, strong jiu-jitsu beats weak jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu beats strength, but strong jiu-jitsu beats weak jiu-jitsu. So that aggression, like that physicality comes into play huge in tournaments. Applying technique strongly and aggressively will win. And that's my concern with Scarlett. Is she's just not, I don't think she's gonna know what to do. Like honestly, like, so, but the question is, and your final thing says she's starting to build anxiety during matches. Why do we do tournaments? And I tell this to all the kids, why do we do tournaments? I don't care if you win medals. I mean, we tore it up at the New Breed recently, but I don't care if you win medals, because the mental benefit and teaching the kids to do something difficult and preparing, setting a goal, training for the goal, doing the work leading up into that goal, and learning from either the success or failures that come from that event can be applied into every person's life right now, today. If you own a business, you're a nurse, you're a lawyer, you're a tradesman, you're a student, you're a 10-year-old kid, you're whatever, fill in the blank. So that is why you do it, to not be afraid of that challenge. And yes, you are going to be nervous. Every tournament I register for, I'm nervous. I'm slightly scared. I'm scared of failure. I'm scared of what other people will think. I'm afraid to lose. I'm scared of getting injured now. Like all of these things.
Something that comes to mind is we have a anesthetist here, and it's basically yeah. He's like basically like an anesthesiologist. Yeah. He's never ever mentioned anything about competing or competition out of his mouth, and I would never expect it from him because he's never talked about it. Right. But as soon as you start to talk about it and you put it out there, you really look ugly if you don't at least try it once. Yeah. But but that's not something that interests him. But when he's here, he's such a good member. Yeah, he's really pleasant to be around. For sure. He's pleasant, professional. He's mature, and he brings a lot to the team. And he's like 40 years old.
Yeah, he's like 43. I think.
So yeah, you don't have to compete. But just getting back to Scarlett, the little one.
Or even Cassidy, Melinda, same thing.
Yeah, it all depends on where the instructor sees the kids are at. And for Cassie specifically, that girl has been in some battles.
Yeah,
we're talking about it. For those of you who don't know, this girl is like 50 pounds. She looks like a little doll, a Barbie doll. Yeah. She's so tiny. Yeah, she's so tiny, so small, so cute. But she's been in matches where
vicious,
really, really intense physical matches in front of probably dozens and hundreds of people that are watching her. So, if there comes a time when, because she's not able to kind of showcase her jiu-jitsu against another girl her age and her weight, she's always fighting up. You don't have to do that all the time. Once in a while, maybe, but Cassie's put her time in, and she's going to keep doing what she's doing.
I think I've seen this, and this is important to me. Like anybody who wants to negate what jiu-jitsu does for kids or negate the power of it.
Yeah.
I challenge you. Spend $15 and go to a jiu-jitsu tournament and watch the kids compete. I've seen kids finish their match. They're crying during the match. You can see that they're stressed. They're crying.
Yeah.
But they're still fighting.
They're still fighting. That's what life is about.
That is it's okay if you cry. It's not okay if you quit. It's okay like that. whatever meme was going around a few weeks, but like all these, like, it's okay if you do that, just don't quit.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've seen Cassie do that. I feel like I've seen a lot, like, that's it. Right. And so they keep fighting, and that makes, man, when I see that as like as a man, as a father, as a coach, I'm like, that kid is tough.
Yeah.
Like, that kid is tough.
And by the way, for those of you who have kids who haven't competed or outside people watching in, I know we're on a lot of different platforms. That is what jiu-jitsu is for.
Yeah.
Like, from kid to adult, kids are outwardly crying. They're in pain. They're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They're getting smothered or beat up or attacked. They're crying, but they're still going forward.
Yeah.
And with adults, the same things happen. I mean, it's
Just
really
internally.
Yeah, it's emotionally taxing on the body. Forget about physical. Physical is the easy part. It's emotionally taxing to really be smothered with like all these problems coming at you at once. And when you can just stay in the fight, like Coach Alvarez says, stay in the fight, and you know, things always work themselves out.
So I think the last one we got, Mindy, actually, we were talking about, says, how do you slow down your opponent during a competition to try to gain control of the match? Have them wear a gi. That's
okay. We're not going to go there today.
That's a joke. Coach Eric Rolston from our affiliate school, Central Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Alma, says maximizing points of contact. Yeah, great answer. I think that's a great principle. Points of contact, 4 points of contact, 5 points of contact if you use your head.
Yeah. So Mindy, are you up or down on points? That's good to know. Are you up and down on points? And you never want to back up. You want to treat that little mat space like a circle, and you're always circling. Half circle this way, half circle that way.
That's one of the biggest things you taught me back in that. Like when we were standing up, and I used it even at the last tournament.
Yeah.
Like because backing up, they can just blow right through you, and they're gonna catch something and drive. But when you circle, and if they try to drive into you, you can just redirect. Yeah, like that was one of the biggest things you taught me. But continue.
Yeah. So half circle, and if you're up on points, even if it's by an advantage, who cares? Because in the tournament, your goal is obviously to come out on top. But by half circle, you kind of keep them cornered. If they move left, you're going to move left. If they move right, you're going to move right.
Yeah. And I would also, and if you're talking about on the ground, so that's stand up. If you're talking about on the ground, maximize points of contact. But jiu-jitsu, you will win every jiu-jitsu match if you can always control the hips and the shoulders.
Yep.
You'll win every one. Like I always use the analogy, if you lay me on the mat and you drive a stake through each shoulder and through each hip, I'm going to flail my arms and legs up like a turtle on its back, but I won't be able to go anywhere. If you control my shoulders and you don't control my hips, I'm going to move knee in front, regard, what have you. If you control my hips and not my shoulders, now I can drag and set up other submissions. So you want to try and control both. And going back to what Coach Eric said, frame. So that could be, frame in front of the throat, across both shoulders, and now your foot on the hips, and I say hips because if you put a foot on the knee, they can move. There's a time and a place for that, but like hips and shoulders, control the hips and shoulders. Like I understand it's difficult to do during the stress of a competition match, but like that's what you're always looking for. So like when in doubt, what do I need to grab? Look to control the shoulders. Maybe stop grip fighting is a big one. Foot on the hip. So
that's correct.
We've got, that's pretty much it, man. We'll save the next one. Do we have you got any other questions on yours? I can't see. That camera's like far away. What do we got going on over here? I'm going to kill this one. That's for Coach Christian. And I think we got them all. So
guys, thanks for popping in.
That was good, you guys.
On the personal page. We'll see you guys next week.
Yep. So that's pretty much it, you guys. So if you we covered a lot. I feel the need to say this before we sign off.
Is this about the gi no gi thing?
No, not at all.
Good.
No, because we all know no gi's better. They if you see passion coming out of Coach Mohammad or I about certain topics, like me with the belt system, or even, we joke about gi versus no gi. Like,
Which it all started with gi.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. And yeah, absolutely. And a lot of companies that pioneered things aren't around anymore. So like if you talk about these things, like you see these passions coming out, it's just because this is all we talk about. Like occasionally I'll talk to Coach Mohammad, Professor Mohammad, about his, some family things. We obviously we're great friends. We share those things personally. We know what's going on in each other's lives, but man, I feel like 85% of our conversations are things like we're talking about here. And honestly, like this whole podcast, we just decided to record our conversations. That's really all it is. We're like, hey, we would have this exact same conversation about jiu-jitsu, about belts, about gi, no gi. Like we're like, hey, let's just record it.
I never thought about it. These are our conversations.
These are our conversations. This is just these questions come up, and we decided to kind of give people a chance to watch them. So, that's it, you guys. We'll see you next Tuesday. We're going to do a virtual thing because we're going to be in different locations. We should get Professor Bruno on since it's going to be virtual anyway.
Yeah,
we should see if we could get Professor Bruno on. That would be that'd be a great guest. So, as always, guys, we'll see you next Tuesday at 9 a.m. We'll see you on the mats. I'm going to end that.